Thank you very much, Kahiri. I understand that at the end of February there were something in excess of 7,500 personnel enlisted in our permanent defence forces. This is just over 4,000 short of the ambition outlined in the programme for government. So we need to increase enlistment by 50%, which is a substantial target to achieve. Would you have any indication at this stage, Tánaiste, when you would hope to at least get the enlistment above the 8,000 figure? Because it's important that we get back to a critical mass, a critical enlistment across all aspects of the permanent defence forces. Thank you, Kahiri.
Yeah, I want to thank Deputy Smith for the question, and he's right. I mean, recruitment and retention has to be a key priority for government, because so much else of what we want to do in terms of the national security space, the capability of our defence forces, the infrastructure we want to purchase and secure relies on having men and women to operate and operationalise much of that. Figures provided for 2024 do give us some cause for hope in terms of a stabilisation in the numbers. The first year in quite a number of years where we saw very, very, very modest growth, but we certainly saw a stabilisation in the number of people in our defence forces. There were 708 personnel inducted in the defence forces in 2024, and this is the highest number in over 5 years. So the current strength of the permanent defence forces as of the 9th of April, which is the latest date for which the figure is available, stood at 7,545 personnel. Now, the defence forces have further advised that they're targeting 800 inductions at a minimum for this year. Now, it's never, your question is a fair one, it was not an exact science in being able to predict, because it depends on retirements and all of that as well. But if we'd 708 inducted last year, if we could get to 800 inductions this year, there's a real clear trajectory then of growth. But also I think it would give us a great sense of confidence that the Defence Forces has had the ability to ramp up its numbers in terms of inductions. We do need, though, to step up the scale of ambition even further in terms of making greater progress, and I have had good engagement and conversations with the Chief of Staff of the Defence Forces and made him clear of government's ambitions in that regard. I should say recruitment to the Defence Forces and the positive trajectory hasn't happened by accident. It has happened because we've taken a number of decisions. We've had a joint induction training centre established in Gormanstown, and the military authorities have advised that when fully operational, this will enable induction training to be provided to at least 900 recruits per annum. Recently, the largest recruit class of 72 recruits were welcomed into the facility. In February of this year, my department signed a contract for the construction of a new modern gym with multi-purpose hall, as well as a purpose-built obstacle course at the Gormanstown camp. This contract is scheduled to take 15 months to complete, and there's been very significant progress on pay, which I think is important as well. And we need to make sure we get that message out that recruits on completion of training now start at €41,465, inclusive of their military service allowance in year one. That's an increase of over 49% over the last 6 years.
Thank you. I thank Tánaiste for his reply. Tánaiste, it's good to know there's stabilisation, and hopefully stabilisation and increase in enlistment would give more momentum to recruitment, and obviously to the important retention aspect as well. The programme for government has a welcome commitment to build on improvements in the recruitment process, including a nationwide programme for transition year and third level students and better representation of women at all levels of the Defence Forces. Are there particular actions or measures being implemented this year to implement those commitments? And also there's a commitment to examine incentives and structural changes to make a military career accessible to a wider range of candidates, and actually also to encourage existing personnel to extend their military careers. Far too often I have seen very young people leave the Defence Forces, with the ludicrous situation a few years ago where some people had to leave after 20 years service. There were young women and men in their early 40s who were forced to retire. It made no sense whatsoever. Most of them have gone on to other careers. I made representation on behalf of many of them, and they couldn't be kept on because of the contract they went in under. I sincerely hope that no organ of the state will ever introduce such a type of recruitment and terms of employment in the future. Thank you, Oireachtas.
Thanks very much, and let me have a look at that, Deputy Smith. And I think the point you make is fair. I mean, we're seeing an increase, thankfully, in the number of people joining the Defence Forces. We want to see a greater increase in diversity within our Defence Forces, and most particularly in terms of female participation. I'm pleased to say that already a number of initiatives have been implemented to increase the level of female participation in the permanent Defence Forces. This includes the establishment by the Defence Forces of a female-specific recruitment team, which coordinates attendance of tri-service female-specific recruiting teams at national and regional local events, attendance by male and female representatives at at all recruitment events, and a gender perspective is incorporated in all advertising. The appointment of a gender advisor at senior military rank in 2024, which I think was an important development. Our fitness test requirements tailored for females, and the Joint Recruitment Office are also actively reaching out to female applicants in the recruitment pipeline in order to support them throughout the application process, should they need any further support or advice, because we do often see, and we see this in the Guards as well, a very high number of people who apply, and that doesn't always result in the same number of people actually coming in. So a particular focus where we see an application from a female in terms of reaching out and saying, you want to be in the Defence Forces, how can we work with you? And I'm pleased to say we also now have a Defence Forces Women's Network established with the aim of increasing the participation of female personnel at all levels of the organisation.
Thank you, Oireachtas, and thank you, Tánaiste, for the response. Tánaiste, I genuinely believe that if we had a stronger reserve defence force, it would be a great conduit for enlistment in the permanent defence forces. I represented 2 border constituencies during many bad years on this island. I saw the importance of the reserve defence forces along the border, working in the communities that I have the privilege of representing and living in. The reserve defence forces over the years recruited many young people who may have been vulnerable to other unsavoury groups. Many of those young people went on to have star careers in the permanent defence forces. So we should have a strengthened reserve defence force. And I think it can be an extra welcome ingredient in getting more people enlisted in our permanent defence forces. And Tánaiste, if you have the opportunity to talk to some of the people who would have served in the border areas during the very bad days, and unfortunately that went on for many decades, and I knew many of the very senior army personnel at all levels whom I lived among, in our communities and in our towns, and we came across them in our daily activities because their presence was needed in our communities. I think that they will give you a very clear and positive message about the importance of the Reserve Defence Forces and what it could do into the future. Not have to go back to the work they did in the past, but as a recruitment process to strengthen our permanent defence forces, as well as carrying out their own important work as well. Thank you, Oireachtas.
I fully agree with you. I really do, because I think when we talk about our defence forces, we need to talk about the total number of men and women who are available to come to the aid of the state if and when that is required. And of course, a very important component of that is our permanent defence forces. But it's also very important that there's interlocking between that and the reserve defence forces, men and women who can be called up and can assist in ways as the need arises. I've had very good meetings in recent weeks with the representative body in relation to the reserves, very good conversations about how we can make sure we do more in terms of those kind of constant connectivities and links between the permanent defence forces and the reserves, and also very eager that we would run advertising campaigns and recruitment information about the reserve defence forces. And I'd very much welcome an opportunity to discuss with people who served in the border region, and very happy to meet people with you to discuss that further.
Thank you very much.